How to overcome your fear of failure in 4 easy steps. If you want to increase your rate of success, double your rate of failure. And that's a famous quote by Thomas Watson, who was a former CEO of IBM. And I absolutely love that quote because it just normalizes how quickly you should be failing so that you can get to your successes so much faster. And obviously, you're listening to this podcast because right now you have a fear of failure. And what I love about the title of this podcast is that I'm not talking about how to not fail, but what I'm talking about is how to overcome your fear of failing. Those are two totally, completely different things because failing is just so natural, but it's your fear of failing that is keeping you locked into this comfort place. And we want you to break out so that you can have the successes that you want. And that's what this podcast is all about. And I got to tell you guys, I fell victim to this myself. And ironically, I fell victim to it about creating this podcast. So believe it or not, just a year ago, so 2023, more specifically March of 2023, I really started to take my podcast serious. But here's the thing. I started this podcast right before COVID started. So about 2019, I was actually publishing podcast episodes. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if I would have kept going with these podcast episodes, so that's 5 years, right? 5 years earlier, imagine where I could be in terms of viewers, subscribers, downloads, so many different things. And I'm just sitting here and I'm kicking myself like, why did I not stay consistent? And the reason why is because I had a fear of failing. You know, I was doing these podcasts and I didn't have the views that I wanted. I didn't have the downloads that I wanted. I wasn't getting the subscribers that I wanted. And then also, I'll be honest, I was afraid of getting in front of this camera, getting behind this mic, and had this fear of just getting better because I thought I had to be good enough to start. But that's the biggest misconception. You do not have to be great to start. You just have to start. You know, someone told me, and actually one of my clients told me this in one of our sessions. He said that you can't think your way into acting better, but you can act your way into thinking better, right? And what he's trying to say is that you can't just sit there and just keep thinking and think that you're going to get better. You have to act your way into thinking better. I love this also with sports too, thinking that, well, when it comes to shooting a free throw, you're not going to get great by just thinking about it, by visualizing, right? And actually, I will say there is a level of visualizing that does improve your free throw shooting. But at the end of the day, you have to get out there and you have to shoot an actual basketball. And it's the same thing with you with whatever it is that you're trying to get better at. You know, so many of my listeners, they tend to be entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, authors, motivational speakers, but also just your regular 9-to-5ers. So it could be teachers, lawyers, doctors, engineers. I get a lot of those, like so many different people. And I got to tell you guys that, man, you cannot just think your way into being better. You have to act your way into becoming better. And that's what we're talking about in this podcast, how to overcome your fear of failure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys 4 simple steps to do that. And here's the thing, guys. I'm going to put you guys on blast right now. I love testing my audience. I love testing my listeners. And right now, we're about 2-3 minutes into the podcast episode, and I'm gonna give you a challenge right out the gate. So you have a lot of people that are doers. These are the people that take action when they're told to. And you have some people, they're dabblers, right? So you tell them something and they kind of stick their pinky toe in the water. They kind of try half-assed, right? But they don't go all the way in. The people that are dabblers that do not go all the way in, these are the people, unfortunately, they stay stuck. And maybe that's been you up until this point, right? Because I'm going to give you a great opportunity to make a new change in your life. And it's going to be a simple action. So all I'm going to ask you to do is to be a doer, right? So the doers are the people that are successful in life. These are the people that are making the huge amounts of money, making their dreams come true. These are the people that are just simply crushing it. They are the people that take action when called upon. And right now, I'm calling upon you to hit the subscribe button so that you can continue getting free gems like this to add to your life. Trust me when I say the people that are making it in the world, they're subscribing to podcasts, they're taking courses, they're reading books, they're taking action and they're applying it. And right now, I'm challenging you to take action. So here's the thing. Some people won't do it, which is fine because this podcast isn't for them. But then there are some people that will do it. And this podcast is for the doers and not the dabblers. So I'm even going to tell you this before I get to the first point. If you are a dabbler, if you have not subscribed to this podcast when I've asked you to, or if you're not already a subscriber, I actually want you to leave this podcast. I don't need your view. I don't need your download. I don't need your like or your comment. That stuff I don't need because I have those things. I only want people that are willing to change their lives. And it starts by taking an action. So those people that are taking action, hit the subscribe button and buckle yourself in for these next 4 points. If you're not someone that's willing to subscribe, you can hit the exit button. And yeah, we don't have to see each other ever again. So with that being said, let's get into point number 1. The first point to help you to overcome your fear of failure is by making failing valuable to you. And I love seeing this when it comes to sports. So in the NBA Finals, and actually all throughout the playoffs, as you know, you have to win 4 games in the playoffs against one team in order to win that series, right? So it's a best of 7 series. So you have some teams like, let's say, the Clippers, right? They'll play against a team like the Mavericks. And what you'll see is that one team has an ability to make the adjustments from game to game, right? I'll give you guys an example of what I mean by that. So there's a really great coach in the NBA. His name is Ty Lue. And right now, he coaches the Clippers. Before he coached the Clippers, he coached the LeBron James-led Cleveland Cavaliers. And as you know, they went up against one of the best teams ever, the Golden State Warriors, and they went 73-9 that year. So the best record ever. And I remember this playing in those playoffs, they started off being down 3-1, right? So all Golden State had to do was win one more game. But something happened between those games. And one of the biggest things that happened was that Coach Lue, he found the in-game adjustments to make in order to help his team beat this unbelievable, unmatched team. So what do I mean? What am I trying to say? Well, after the games, Ty Lue and his assistant coaches, they will go back and they'll watch film and see where they're messing up. How is it that this team is crushing us, dominating us, and have us on the brink of elimination? So he found those ways that they were losing. He found ways he could exploit their team, and he was able to actually help them to overcome that 3-1 deficit to be the first team ever to win a championship and honestly to even win a series being down 3-1. Think about this, guys. He simply studied the failures of his team. He went back and he revisited tape. And by making those adjustments, he made his team better. If he would have ignored those adjustments, if he didn't watch film or tape or anything like that, trust me when I say they would have lost 4-1 and we would have never heard of this unbelievable comeback win that LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers and Ty Lue essentially made. I'll even give you guys this, right? Because you're listening, I'm going to give you a little bit more. You know, what's even great about watching your failures and studying it and what makes someone really great at doing that, these individuals, they also look at the wins. So even the games that they did win, Tyronn Lue and any great coach, they're not satisfied with the win. They want to know how can they get better. So they're also watching the film even when they win the games. And that's something that for a lot of us, we don't do. That's something that for you, you may not be doing. You know, you may have a really good day where you're selling and you're doing real good with making profits, or have a really good month. You may even have an Instagram post, TikTok post that goes viral, right? But are you studying what you did that helps you to go viral, to help you to make those sales, to have a good month, to have your best year, if you will? Like, are you studying those tapes as well? Maybe not. There's so much opportunity in that, and I want you guys to study your failures, but also study the wins as well. And what I'm saying with this point, to help you to overcome your fear of failure, is that you have to make failing valuable to you. And the best way is to use these failures as a pedestal for you to stand on as you climb your way to success. Point number 2 to help you overcome your fear of failure, and I love this one, guys, but you have to study the failures of your heroes. And it's like, wait, what? Guys, your heroes, your mentors, your coaches, even your parents, if that's someone that you look up to, trust me when I say they have gone through failures, right? You know, I'll even say this, like Jesus Christ himself, right? So if you're a believer, if you believe in Christianity, right? If Jesus is your God, you know, believe it or not, like even he went out, spoke the gospel, and was denied. People did not want to listen to him. He wasn't the most favorable person on the planet, right? Even though you look up to him as being the Almighty God, there are still people that denied him. And unfortunately, there were still people that took his life. And it's like, wait, like, isn't this like I said, like the Almighty God, someone that you look up to? And I give you guys a story of someone that I look up to, but I really want this point to sit with you, right? And I'll even say this, I'll change Jesus Christ himself, because for some of my listeners, they may not be into Christianity, which is totally fine, right? I don't want you guys to miss the point. So let me take Jesus Christ out and I'll plug in Martin Luther King. Believe it or not, even black people, right, hated Martin Luther King. Malcolm X was a great example. And maybe I shouldn't say the word hated him, but they didn't agree with him, right? They felt like his policies, his way of doing life, his way to overcome this problem of segregation and racism in the country, they felt as though it wasn't the right path. And Martin Luther King, he was not your most beloved person. Like a lot of people, they didn't like him, but he still pursued his dreams, right? Quite literally, right? Pursued his dreams, and through that persistence, he was actually able to change the world, right? Trust me when I say, like, even people in India or Africa or whatever country, Europe, like, everyone has heard of Martin Luther King, right? And it's like, Martin Luther King wasn't always like beloved. He didn't always have successes, right? So I don't want you guys to miss this. So I love looking at my personal hero. If you're looking on this YouTube video, you can see this from behind my shoulder, but Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe Bryant, as you know, all-time great. I mean, just a complete animal when it comes to basketball, right? I mean, a craftsman, right? Someone that really studies their craft, someone that's really diligent about their work. I love studying his failures, so I'll give you two. So one of his failures came in the 1997 NBA playoffs in Game 5. In Game 5, he was playing against the Utah Jazz. Now, the Utah Jazz, and this is going to be a spoiler alert, the Utah Jazz went to the NBA Finals that year, meaning they beat Shaq and Kobe. Like, a lot of people know Shaq and Kobe as being this dominant force, but they didn't always dominate. Sometimes they were getting dominated upon. And this happened in the 97 playoffs. And in the Game 5 of the 97 playoffs, guys, it was a close game. It was a very tight game. It was so tight that game actually went into overtime. But something that happened was, I mean, it was tough for Kobe. He admitted at the time, was that 4 times he was given the basketball to shoot a 3. And 4 times, guys, he airballed. Now, airball is the worst thing you can do in sports, right? It's the worst thing you can do in basketball. And Kobe did it 4 times in a row, and they ended up losing that game in overtime, and they ended up losing that playoff series. Like, that's tough, right? It's like, wait, Kobe was airballing? Kobe wasn't always great? And it's like, yeah, like he wasn't, right? But seeing that story, it helps me to normalize where I'm currently at. It helps me to normalize any failures that I may be going through at this moment. And it should do the same thing for you as well. You know, I'll give you another Kobe story that not a lot of people talk about, but Kobe played 20 years in the NBA. And in those 20 years, he won 5 NBA championships. So what that means is 15 times his year did not end in a championship. 15 times he's failed. And when you look at the percentages of that, it comes out to 75% of Kobe's career ended in a failure. And it's like, man, 75%, that's a lot, right? It is. It is. But we still look at him as being one of the greats. And that's what I'm trying to get you to see. A lot of people are so focused on the wins and how well people are doing on social media, how big and how great, let's say their mentors, their coaches, the people they look up to, they see how much they're succeeding in life, and they forget that there's a point in their life that they weren't succeeding. I need you to study those stories. So my challenge for you listening is to study the stories of whether it's Denzel Washington, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, whoever you look up to, study their failures to help normalize where you're currently at in your life. All right, main point number 3. I love this one. I love all of them, but I really love main point number 3. So point number 3 to help you to overcome your fear of failure is to talk about your failures openly. Stop being so afraid to speak about times that you weren't great. You know, what's funny about this is I did this when I went to one of the conferences that changed my life. So this was back in 2021. I went to a conference in Orlando, Florida called Funnel Hacking Live. And at this conference, you have so many people there that are entrepreneurs that are making 6 figures. And I should even say probably making 5 figures, right? So you have some people that are doing their business on the side. So you have people that are making 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. And then obviously there are some people, especially the people running the show, that are making 9 figures. So $100 million overall. And you know, what's funny is during the breakout sessions, we will all sit in this lobby and we'll just talk, network, exchange notes. We'll just try to get to know each other. And I remember speaking to a few guys and being so open about where I was in my journey at the time. And where I was in a very bad place where I was losing a lot of money. There were months I was losing $3,000 a month, right? So not even making money, but losing money. And I remember talking to them and how quickly they said, man, I was there too. And they gave me resources to help me get out of that. Something that helps us to not be so tough on ourselves is just to be open, just to be vulnerable. When you do that, it allows you to see how normal this part of your life is, and it actually allows people to come into your life and help aid you, help assist you, give you stories about how they were in that same place and were able to make it. And what that does is it gives you hope. What it did for me at that time, it gave me hope. It allowed me to stop focusing on the problem as the problem and helped me start focusing on more important things. And when I started to focus on more important things, and for me, it was marketing, it changed everything for my life. But if I was in this place of, dang, why am I still failing? Why haven't things turned around for me, even though I've been doing it for 6 months, 7 months? Like, why am I still stuck? By not being in that place, it helped me to do the real work. So what I want you to do is start talking about your failures openly. And a great place to start would be journaling amongst yourself. But then once you move past that, share it with a close friend. And I'll even say this, there's a lot of benefits to even sharing this with a complete stranger, because you never know what gems they're going to give you. And there's a good chance you'll never see them again. So why not? And main point number 4, the best point of them all. And I hate to say it, but you're going to hate me for saying this. So please do not take this personal. But the 4th and main point to help you to overcome your fear of failure is for you to simply get over yourself. And I mean that, guys. Like, trust me when I say you are not that important. Sometimes we have such an inflated sense of us, right? Like, we are so important. We are the most important thing in our life, that we think that there aren't other things for us to focus on. We think that there's a spotlight on us. And when there's spotlight on us, we start to become very self-conscious about some of the actions, some of the things, some of the places that we're at in life. Like, we become very, very, dare I say, insecure, if you will. And what I want to do is I'm going to tell you guys 3 ways to help make yourself smaller in your own mind, so that when the failure comes, you're not so taken aback by it, if you will. So the first way to make sure that you keep yourself small in your own mind is to simply see or focus on how your success is for others, is not for just you, right? So what I'm trying to say is, every action that you're taking, every goal that you accomplish, these goals should be seen as a way to help other people, right? Like, it's not all about you, but your goals, I would even say your talents, right? Your talents and your gifts, they're not just for you, but they're to help serve and improve this world. And that world can simply start off with your immediate family. There's something that you have to give to them. And it's a gift that's been given by someone else, right? You can say God, you can say your mentors, whoever, but I want you to start to focus on how your success is actually helping other people and stop focusing on yourself. All right, so that's point number 1. The second point is that everyone is not thinking about you. All right, I want you guys to really, really remember this. Sometimes when we walk out into a public place, even into a bar, right? It can be the mall, the bar, whatever, even on social media, like, we think that all eyeballs are on us. And what that does is it gives us a lot of anxiety. Even when I see my clients in social settings, they feel as though everybody's making fun of them, judging them, right? Just staring at their clothes, how they look, how they talk. And I'm like, trust me when I say these people are thinking about themselves more than they're thinking about you. And they're not even noticing you, if you will. But sometimes we have this view that everyone is thinking about us, and that's not the case. So make yourself small, and simply do that by focusing on other people, or even being very open and active in those social settings to take your mind off of yourself and put your mind on something totally different. So that's the second way to make yourself small. And the third way to make yourself smaller in your own mind, and again, these 3 ways that I'm giving you is tied to the bigger point, which is to simply get over yourself. But the third way is to remember that who you are today is not who you will be 20 years, 10 years, man, even 10 months from now. Like, who you are today is just a moment, and that moment will pass, and you will never be that person again. So why are you holding on so tightly to this person that you are today? I'll even challenge you with this. 10 years ago, I know for a fact there was some mistake that you've made. And I say that because nobody's perfect, right? Over the course of a year, there's going to be some mistake you make. It could be even a simple mistake like getting an answer on a test wrong. Like there's something that you made a mistake on 10 years ago. And if I were to ask you, does that mistake define who you are today? You would say no. You would actually be hard pressed to find a mistake that you made 10 years ago. And if you did find one, and I asked you, how much does that mistake impact you today? You would say, not really, because I don't really remember it, right? That's what I mean by you have to get over yourself, guys. Don't be so tied to your present that you forget that there's a future version of you that you're marching towards. That person is more important than who you are today and definitely who you were in the past. So this last point, just get over yourself, guys. You're not that important. So with that being said, I'm gonna go over the 4 main points again, or how to overcome your fear of failure. So the first point that I made is that you have to make failing valuable to you, guys. The second point, study the failures of your heroes. And I mean that. I know exactly how Kobe has failed. I know how LeBron has failed. And I know how Denzel Washington himself has failed. And that stuff helps me to be more open to my own failures. So study their failures. Point number 3, talk about your failures openly. You can start off by journaling. You can also talk to a friend. And there's a lot of benefit to even talking to a complete stranger. So be open and watch how they rush to your rescue to normalize what you're going through. And then point number 4, I need you guys to get over yourself. Don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. But trust me when I say you are not that important, okay? Failure happens to everybody. And you know this to be true. So why, when it happens to you, you're so taken aback by it? You put yourself in a special category of people that are not allowed to fail. Like, why do you do that to yourself? I want you guys to think about that. So this is Coach Wells. Thank you for making it to the end of this podcast. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below. All right, I'll see you later.